All right, everyone. Hi, welcome to uh, our team call. Just trying to make sure we have everyone muted real quick before you get on. But welcome everyone to our team call this week, and thank you for being here. And it's just so nice to just see everybody's faces and just get together every week and share a little bit of nuggets and kind of, and just really grow this business and bounce ideas off each other. And I was just thinking tonight would be a really great time to share some of the things that I came across when I first started, where you're sharing this, you're so excited, you're talking all about like the product and just like how amazing it is. And you start getting people coming to you going, well, what about this? And what about that? And then you're all of a sudden like, wow, well, how do you address these concerns and these objections? And it can be really hard sometimes to know what to do in the beginning. But what I learned as the years I've been in this business is that there are really only a few objections that people have. There's actually about 5 or 6 questions that you're going to get over and over. And if you can just kind of expect these and figure out and learn how to answer these things appropriately, you're going to have a lot more success. So we're going to go over that tonight. But first, I just want to share my screen and I'm gonna show you guys PowerPoint, but I just want to share my screen tonight with you guys because I want to announce the 2 people that got new customers this week. And here we go. Let me share. All right. Looky here. And I've got a song for you. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Can you hear me? It was Alicia Keys. This girl is on fire. You couldn't hear that? What the heck? Okay. Abby, Jenny, you guys rock. You just week over. I mean, just do amazing. You're doing the do. You're getting new customers on board, and I'm so proud of you guys. So just wanted to celebrate you. And sorry you couldn't hear my song. Darn it. I gotta perfect that. Jenny, gotta help me. Technology. Okay. Anyway, so I want to just start before I go into resolving concerns, objections. I want to talk to you. Did you guys know that we have the very first NAD study? Do you know that? Have thumbs up or thumbs down? Have you heard about the new NAD study that just came out on our product? Oh my goodness. I just watched this like Brian Dixon video about the NAD, and I just wanted to highlight this study tonight because it's super exciting. It's the very first one. You know, we have 28 on Protandim Nerf 2, but we don't have any on NAD yet, only what the company has like talked about. But we have our first published study on Protandim NAD. So just a quick reminder of what NAD does. It supports healthy longevity, removal of cellular waste, which is called autophagy, and improves mental focus, concentration, supports positive mood and motivation, helps the body's healthy anti-inflammatory response, and helps with healthy cholesterol levels and healthy vascular system. So just quickly to kind of cover this new study that just came out, here it is. It was just recently published in Physiologia Journal. This was actually conducted by Auburn University as well as Center for Applied Health Sciences. And a few of the authors are actually people that some of you may know from LifeVantage. Hector Lopez was actually He's actually in LifeVantage, a distributor, a doctor from Mexico. I think he spoke in Cancun. I wasn't there, but for those of you that were, you may have seen him on that trip, talked about NAD and how it does, but he was involved in this study. And it was essentially, it's a human clinical trial, the very first one, with our Protandim NAD, and it was conducted on healthy middle-aged adults, so approximately about 50 years, but healthy, no pre-existing conditions. And they were really looking at it from the point of, how much does it increase the NAD within our bodies? Because science has shown that, and this is through many published authors and books that have been written on this, that from the age of birth to 50 years old, we lose about half of our NAD in our body, and that really impacts our aging. And so there were studies that were done, prior to this one in mice that showed that if you deprive mice of NAD, that they age dramatically faster. So they took this group of young mice and somehow were able to genetically deprive them of NAD. And it showed that they aged super fast. Their fur turned gray, their joints became, arthritic, and then they showed, like, the control group, or that was the control group, and then the group that they actually were studying NAD and supplementation with were older mice who already had aging changes, and then they supplemented them with NAD, and it showed actually a reversal of a lot of these aging changes and improvements in their joints, their mobility. It actually turned their gray hair to brown and crazy stuff like that. And then the young mice that they were depriving of NAD, they then supplemented them with NAD, and all of those aging changes reversed. So these were studies that were done prior to this one, and just showing how important NAD is in terms of anti-aging and cellular health overall. So what this actually kind of led to, those studies led to them looking at our products, the Protandim NAD Synergizer, and they ended up doing it in a human clinical trial, and the results were really pretty amazing. So I just wanted to cover those briefly. And this study was actually just released March 21st, so just a few days ago. Well, a week ago. It's already April, shoot. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to kind of point out, which I think is so huge, is that one of the big results that they found is that those that took our NAD products, these individuals, in the end had a lower cholesterol, a lower LDL, and a lower HDL to LDL ratio, which, is the key. I mean, it's not just your total, like, cholesterol, triglycerides you're looking at, but you're looking at the ratio too. And so it showed a significant improvement in the overall LDL to HDL ratio, which is huge when it comes to heart disease. And then also cholesterol. So, it's like, how many people do you know that are taking these cholesterol medications, or their doctors are concerned about their triglycerides and, prescribing all these things? And we have the first human clinical study now showing that NAD had a really big impact compared to the control on lowering this. So I think this is really pretty awesome study, and something that I'm sure Brian Dixon said there's going to be 2 more studies coming out pretty soon after this one, kind of compounding on the results, showing the benefits, because this one was just kind of the preliminary, and there was a big, huge, like, population that they were looking at in this particular study. They just took a subset of that, but they're continuing the studies on the larger group. So there's going to be 2 more papers coming out soon on this. So that's really exciting, and just wanted to kind of, anybody that's struggling with cholesterol and overweight, and worried about the HDL, the LDLs, all these things, just point them to this and, say this is like the first study that we've come out and it's shown a big improvement in that. So, okay. All right. So for those of you on the call, I just want to ask you, when you're talking to people about our products, just type in the chat, what are the main things that you hear people say about objections that you hear? When you're talking to them about Protandim or LifeVantage or the business or the products, what are the main objections that you come across? Just curious, in your experience, what your people are saying. I can't afford it, price. Okay. All right. Yeah, that is a big one. Well, especially now, people are tightening up everything when it comes to money. Don't have the time, Abby. Absolutely. Okay. Yep. Okay. They don't understand why it can help them. All right. Anybody have any people like object to, well, how does it work? I'm already taking all this. Yes. Good one, Abby. Love that. All great things. So I want to address some of these things tonight because after being in this business for 8 years, I have literally heard these a million times over. And the beautiful thing is you're going to hear the same objections over and over and over. So as the longer you get, you stick with this, the more efficient, proficient, and educated and better you are at going to be addressing these things. So let me just see if I can advance to this next slide. Ooh, okay. So common objections that you hear, and these are really going to be the only 6 things that you hear over and over. So think about, all you have to know is 6 answers, 6 ways to, address these objections. That's it. And if you could get good at addressing all of these, it's going to be a no-brainer. So Protandim is an FDA approved. All right, we're going to hear about this one. It's too expensive. We're going to hear about this. I'm not a salesperson. Actually, this was my objection. I'm like, I'm not a salesperson. But actually, as a veterinarian, I am. I'm selling a million things. I'm selling every service that I'm providing, not as a salesperson, but as a professional who is offering what I think is best for that animal. So we have to like rearrange those thoughts in our brain of like, hey, we're not selling, we're advocating. We're advocating for someone's health. We're advocating for your animal's health. And so it's not really about selling you on a product. It's just saying, in our educated opinion, what we feel like is going to be best for that animal or person, or at least offer you the information for you to decide. I don't have the time is a big one. And then, is this an MLM or a pyramid scheme? Another one. And then number 6 is actually not as common, but if you have someone who's been in network marketing, who has some experience in the arena and maybe has been involved in other companies, they're going to be wondering, well, is the market saturated? Because you find a lot of companies that you get involved with that there's lots of competition out there, and it's really hard for you to make money and actually be successful in businesses that are selling things that you can find in a million other places. So that's a little bit less common of a concern, but we'll talk about that too. So given those concerns those are the things you're going to be asked about, but really the 2 things in most people's brains are not those 6 things. the two things that are in most people's brains are, and they're not going to usually verbalize it, but is this real? And can I do this? So, this was from Carrie Dickey's training, and this was a long time ago when she trained on this stuff, but I just feel like it's so relevant and still it just transcends time. One of the things where is this real is like, how long has Protandim been out? Since the early 2000s. Has it ever been proven wrong? Has it ever not been validated? We have 28 peer-reviewed studies. I mean, when I started, I think there was only maybe a dozen, if that. So every year, more and more peer-reviewed studies come out on the product from universities, and that's all you have to point to is this real? Well, this is a product that's been out for 20 years, and it's still, universities are putting their name, reputation, their money behind it. And then, can I do this is all about, we know how much personal growth is involved in this business. Well, we just have to be there to tell people, show people, and help them. They can do it. Anybody can do it. We just have to encourage them and offer them the skills, the ways to learn, and encourage them to do it. So those are their real questions, but they're never going to ask you that. They're always going to ask you the other 6 questions. But in the back of your mind, just know these are the things they're really wondering. So one of the things Carrie Dickey always talks about is anytime there's an objection, you want to follow it up with a question and use the feel, felt, found method. Always acknowledging, yeah, I get how you feel. I felt the same way, and here's what I found. And so she's of the, she recommends that every time someone asks you a question, or has an objection, you ask them a question. One of the things that people will say, but Protandim isn't FDA approved, and that drives me nuts, number one. I mean, and I'm just like, of course it's not, because it's not a drug, but I love this quote Carrie Dickey put out from this documentary, The Unproven Cancer Cure, which I think is it explains it so well. And it says that anything that comes from nature cannot be patented. However, Protandim is patented, and they would love to buy the patents, but they can't. But in general, all these products that are out there on the market that are not drugs, that they're natural, and the reason why we have to be so careful of what we say when it comes to medical claims is because the FDA will totally come down on it. Because big pharma, FDA is about pharma. They're about drugs. They're not about anything they can't patent, and they're not interested in things that they can't patent. And so basically, drug companies aren't going to, spend $20 million or more researching, testing any substance from nature because it can't be patented, and that's how they make their money. And so therefore, the FDA says it's illegal to use unless it's been tested for efficacy and safety. So the catch-22 is basically nothing from nature, regardless of how effective it is, will ever be quote unquote proven safe and effective according to the FDA. So it'll never be, because they're not going to spend the money to go through the testing. And so anything from nature will always be condemned by the FDA as unproven. So just know that when people are asking about FDA, well, you say, no, it's not FDA approved, because they do not approve anything that's not a synthetic pharmaceutical drug that they can patent. So I think that's important to really address to people is, if it's something food-wise, which is, I just actually had a pharmaceutical rep come and speak to our vet clinic about HeartGuard and NexGard. And so these are heartworm, flea preventions, products. And HeartGuard is the last product on the market for animals, for dogs, that actually has real beef. And at that time, because HeartGuard was one of the very first, heart preventatives out there for dogs, and they actually use real beef in their product. Well, after HeartGuard, the FDA outlawed any real food products to be put in these drugs. So all of the products and preventatives you see out there now for dogs and cats are fake flavoring, because they will not allow food products to be put in them. And HeartGuard is, it's been around for eons. It's over 2 billion, doses worldwide that have been administered, and the most palatable. But yeah, so the newer ones, the FDA will not allow beef products to be put in these things. So it's just goes to show you that anything that's nature or natural, if the FDA is not going to approve it. So anyway, that's how we get around that one, is in explaining that. All right, moving on. Find this. All right, so too expensive. Okay, this is what Carrie Dickey says. Expensive, so she always says, ask a question after an objection. Well, what do you compare that to? Because people might think, okay, it's $50 a month. Well, what are they comparing that to from a health product standpoint? Is it a bottle of vitamin C? Is it about a bottle of vitamin E? I would argue to say in this day and age, people are spending a ton more money on, health products than even back when Carrie Dickey was talking about this. But just asking them, well, it's too expensive. It's $50 for Protandim Nerve 2. So what do you currently, spend your money on? Do you take any vitamins? Do you take any supplements? Most of the people that I come into contact with have a pharmacy of herbs and vitamins and different things. They're spending already a lot more money on those things. And they're only doing it because they think it's good for them. They haven't really seen any studies, or, they've just, maybe it's good marketing or whatever. But one of the things that I like to throw in there, Carrie Dickey says, well, the difference is we're activating our antioxidants, which is something that you can't get from a vitamin or a supplement out on the market currently. And actually the only competition we have is something that's actually a pharmaceutical drug that costs $4,500 a month for people to take, and it doesn't even work as well. So that would be the Tecfidera, that pharmaceutical that's prescribed for MS. But one of the things I kind of threw in there at the end is just thinking about it in terms of the Tri-Synergizer, for example, ends up being about $5 a day. Which, you think about it, if people get a Starbucks coffee, it's almost equivalent. And then the Protandim Nerve 2 ends up being $1 something a day. So it's kind of breaking it down sometimes for people where they're like, oh, $50. But then it's like, really, well, what is your health worth to you? Because listen, everybody can, most people can spend $1.50 a day on their health. And if they're really splurging and getting Starbucks every day or fast food or whatever the case may be, it's kind of breaking that down. And you don't have to say it in a snotty way, but it's like, yeah, I get it. I mean, at first I thought $50 a day or $50 a month was expensive, but then I'm like, I spend already all this money on other things, on, coffee, on just whatever, stupid things that aren't really good for me. And if I just redirect those funds to say, okay, this is what I'm going to invest in my health, then it's actually makes a lot more sense. So that's kind of one thing I would just, offer as a suggestion is like, yeah, you always want to say, be understanding, because money is tight. People are struggling. Be like, yeah, I totally get it. I thought the same thing. I felt the same way, but then again, I just realized like I was already spending my money on things like coffee, like fast food, like other vitamins and supplements that weren't even really doing what Protandim can do. And I just redirected that money into this because I realized how much more beneficial it is to my health. So that's something that, you know, maybe will help you guys. Next is, I'm not a salesperson. That was me. I did not want to be involved in any way, shape, or form with sales. So I definitely use the feel, felt, found with this anytime people say it. And I basically say, listen, you know, that was my thought. I've never wanted to be a salesperson or felt like I am, but when you love and believe in something, you're going to share it. And we're always sharing things that we love, whether it's a movie, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a book, whether it's a podcast, whether it's anything. You know, we're not getting paid for most of the things we share, but honestly, every single day of our lives, we are networking or network marketing other people's things because we want to share things that we love with other people. And so this is a business about sharing and educating and not selling. And so if you don't love these products and believe in them 100%, then I don't think you will be successful in LifeVantage. You have to believe in this. You have to love this because it needs to come from your heart. People that come into the business saying, oh, I could sell ice to an Eskimo. Network marketing, generally, they're not going to be successful in because this is a relationship business. This isn't about a drive-by, sell a bottle and like move on. This is about, you know, building relationships, getting people to experience and love these products like we do, and then share them with others. And so, you know, that to me, it's all about stories. It's all about, you know, Carrie Dickey talks about, you know, facts tell and stories sell. And one of the things, you know, on the Aloha call earlier today, Daisy asked, you know, she's asking people like, what keeps you excited and keeps you going in LifeVantage? And to me, it's the stories. It's every testimonial I hear about people having a positive experience or their animals. And that's why I got into this. And that's why I stay in this. And that's why I keep sharing. It's not about the money for me. It is about, you know, hearing the people's stories that come back and are so thankful and grateful. And, you know, that is so rewarding because you feel like you're contributing and you're making a difference. And I think that's really where my passion is that I just want to feel like I'm making a positive impact on other people's lives by just sharing this with them, more than anything. And so we don't want to attract salespeople. We want to attract storytellers. We want to attract genuine people that have a heart for helping others. And that's, you know, when people say I'm not a salesperson, I'm like, good. We don't, you know, if you're a salesperson, you're probably not going to be successful in network marketing because it's not about selling, it's about sharing. So anyway, that's kind of my soapbox on that. And I think a lot of the elite distributors, I mean, they say the same thing. So anyway, that's that. All right, I don't have time. So, this was also my story. I had no time. I was working numerous relief jobs, trying to keep our family afloat, paying for private school, and I didn't have time for this. And Carrie Dickey says, always ask the question, well, how much time do you think you need to create extra income? And then she says that basically she can honestly say that 90% of the people in her business said they didn't have time, including herself, because she was a busy mom. She was running a household. She, you know, had another business she was doing, but basically what we all do is build this part-time in the nooks and crannies of our lives. And there's a famous saying, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. And, I remember when Sheridan came to me and I was like, girl, I'm too busy. I don't have time to do this business or add anything else to my plate. I'm already working, all these jobs. And she's like, well, Allison, at some point, don't you think if you built this, you would be able to take more time off from working your 9 to 5? I mean, it's trading your hours for dollars, right? And there's not a lot of other industries where you can actually make money and work less time. And it takes time to get there, obviously as you're building, but she's like, if you don't have time now, you're never going to have time to do the things you want to do. So and that kind of hit home to me. It's like, okay, well, again, if you are passionate and believe in the products and what this can do for people, it's not even like work. It's like you're having conversations with people in your daily life and just sharing what you're passionate about, whatever it is. And so these are things that you can fit in the nooks and crannies. And I really find it's important when new people or just prospects, to let them know, especially if they're looking at the business, like, to take the pressure off of them, because it is all about timing when it comes to the business. Because it's overwhelming for a lot of people to think, I can't put one more thing on my plate. But here's the thing. If you get them signed up as a customer and they start to have a positive experience with the product, the majority of your customers are potential distributors, and many will turn into that, because what they're going to do is they're going to start talking to their friends and family about the product. And at that point, you're going to say, well, rather than you send them to my website, you just need to have your own, and just help them realize that we meet you where you're at. There are going to be seasons of your life where you're going to be more motivated and have more time and have more ambition to really work this business. And there may be times where you have to step back. And the beautiful thing about this company is that you're not going to be penalized. You're not going to be kicked out. You're not going to have it's there for you, whether you can spend X amount of time this month or in 3 months or in 6 months. It's never going to leave. And I think that's so amazing, with this company, because you literally don't have that pressure. And I think that's what turns a lot of people off from network marketing. And so I just tell people that, like, you can do as much or as little as you want to do. It might take you longer to get to the goals that you want to get to and the amount of money you want to make. I mean, it's all dependent. And I think that's why when you have a new distributor, that you need to kind of sit down with them and figure out, well, what are your goals? Where do you want to be? And how soon do you want to be there? Because it's going to really dictate how much time you need to spend doing it. And so if you're only reaching out to, 4 people a month or 15 people a day, you're going to grow faster, obviously, if you're reaching out to more people. So just realize, like, it's not that the business doesn't work. You have to work to make it work in the time frame you want it to work. But there's no downside to if you need to take time off. And so I always like to kind of tell people that if they're hesitant. Okay. And then number 5 is this one of those MLMs or pyramid schemes? So first of all, pyramid schemes are illegal. We have a, publicly traded company on the NASDAQ. I always point them to that and say, you can see all the financials. It's totally legit company. They didn't start out as a network marketing company, but they ended up, going to that business model because the retail sales wasn't working for them. They were a category creating product that no one had heard of. We were way ahead of our times, especially when you're looking at where we are now with gene therapy. Okay. No one had ever heard of gene therapy or biohacking back in the early 2000s. This was like one of those crazy futuristic things that people just couldn't get their heads wrapped around. And now it's like you're hearing all sorts of things about gene therapy and genetic, modulation and this and that. And so anyway, we're doing it though in a good way with natural products and nutrition, not synthetic. So, but one of the things that Carrie Dickey says is, when someone asks you, is this one of those MLMs? Don't assume that they're asking you because they're negative about them. You want to ask them, well, yeah, what do you know about multi-level marketing? Because a lot of people have been involved in it and they might actually be looking for a company. So don't just get defensive off the bat and be like, well, yes, but, and try to defend it. Just what do you know about it? It's important to know if they are positive or negative about the industry. And so that, you can kind of guide them and figure out what their previous experiences have been. And really in this day and age, networking is really the way of the future. And there's always going to be skeptical people, but right now people are looking for alternatives to corporate, jobs and things like that. They're looking for ways to make money outside of their corporate job or just from home. So again, use the feel, felt, found method. If they are negative, say, hey, I understand how you feel. I felt the same way. I've heard about people that have been burned in industries and network marketing, but just like anything, there are good companies and bad companies. And there have been a lot of rich people in the world, some of the wealthiest and people in the world that have talked about network marketing as being a viable business model. Warren Buffett, Robert Kiyosaki, and more. And even in Your Home Business at Home magazine, Paul Zane Pilsner said that there are going to be two industries that will collide that will create 10 million new millionaires in the next decade. And those are wellness and network marketing. So we really are in the right place at the right time with the right company. And I think that our company story is such a huge deal compared to a lot of other privately held companies that have come and gone, and that have Me Too products that can be bought in a million other places. So we really just have to explain the company story to people when they're asking about this, especially if they have experience. And again, those that do have experience might ask, is the market saturated? The answer is no. The Direct Selling Association claims that it takes 150,000 distributors in a market to be considered ground floor. The US is still well below that. The last number I saw was around 70, 80,000 within the US. So we're well below that 150,000. And just to give you an example, there are more distributors for Amway in Jacksonville, Florida. I want to say there's millions of distributors in the US for Amway. So in Jacksonville, there's more than in the whole country with LifeVantage. So we are totally ground floor still with this company, and have a huge opportunity to grow, with the momentum, with the growth of it globally. So anyway, always emphasize timing, because it truly is everything in business, like location is in real estate. So we're literally just creating that distribution network around the world, around this country. So anyway, I'm going to stop sharing and just check the chat here and see if there's anything. Oh, Abby, you have an Amway person. Yeah. I mean, there's millions. DSA is Direct Selling Association. And that's basically the committee, the organization that oversees network marketing companies. So yeah, it's really hard once, you know, because all companies, when they kind of start at ground floor, they hit something called critical mass, where all of a sudden people start to recognize the name. They go through massive momentum where 80% of the growth happens in the company, and then they kind of hit stabilization. That's where Amway is. So they only grow about 2 to 3% a year. And if you really want to capitalize on something in business, you really want to get into it before it hits that critical mass and momentum phase, because that's where you're going to capture 80% of the growth. After that, it's, you know, once they're in stabilization, it's really, really hard to make a business out of it without working your tail off constantly, because you're competing with millions of other distributors. There's usually at that point other companies or places that sell similar products. You know, most of the companies out there, including Amway, they don't have patents on their products. So, I mean, understanding, like, we have patented products that, you know, we're like, nobody else can compete with us in that arena, and still we're ground floor in terms of numbers. And so I went way over, you guys. I'm so sorry. It's 9:45. Okay, I'm going to hush. And anybody else have any questions? I hope that was helpful, though.
I have a question, but it's actually not really related, so I don't know if you want me to wait.
No, go for it.
Okay, so we actually bought a horse from this gal. It's the horse that had the baby. And she has a dog that has lupus. And we've talked back and forth, and I really thought she was going to get involved as a distributor. And she's really hard to get a hold of in any way. And she just posted that her dog had come in 3-legged lame. You know, the dog has lupus. And I've sent her the videos, the 2 really good pet ones, yours, and then there was another one that's a little more biochemistry oriented. And she said she was going to watch them, but I actually sent her like a little appeal out, because she put, I'm willing to do anything to help my dog. And so I said, please let me help you. And so I was wondering if you would be willing for me to set up a group text with you and her and say, Maddie, I've included Allison, who's a vet, on here. She knows the product inside out. Please let us help you with your dog. And I didn't know if you'd had any stories about lupus or not with dogs.
Is it lupus or Lyme's?
She said lupus, but I don't know if a dog has lupus, or I don't know if dogs get lupus. I have no idea. So it may be more of a Lyme's. Maybe she said lupus.
Yeah, maybe just text. Yeah, I would totally be down with that. Just send a group text. And, you know, and then maybe I can just ask her more questions about what's going on, and then give her some more information. Yeah, I think that would be, at this point, third party is huge. If you've already sent her the information and she's looking for answers, I think you say, well, I mean, I have a veterinarian who has experience with this, and she, you know, she works in a practice, she does acupuncture and integrative medicine. And, you know, would you want to kind of get a consult with her? You know, and then put us in a group text, and then I can find out a little bit more about what's going on with her dog and stuff. But yeah,
okay,
I think that's the next step.
Because there's, you know, like you were talking about what is the resistance, and she gives me no resistance, but yet I can't ever get her to
yeah. And that's just, I think it's one of those things that sort of, she's filed back here, you know, because she's got her priorities focused on other things, and probably doesn't realize, she's probably thinking, oh, it's not really going to help or whatever, you know. But
well, and she does BEMA treatments and PEMF treatments.
Oh, okay.
So I said I told her this would be so great to integrate into your business.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, to be honest, Carol, there are some people that I will just send them a bottle. I'll just be like, listen, I'm going to, I'm gonna, and you know, at this point, I really believe that this could help your dog. I'll just send you a bottle, start them on it. I've done that. I've done that with several people where, and it's funny because I mean, I've actually gotten people that have totally just end up becoming customers and then buying the other products. I mean, I have a person right now who suffers with alopecia, and I'm like, I'm getting you the scalp serum. She's tried all these different things that it doesn't work. And I'm like, you know what? Getting you the scalp serum. I'm sending you a bottle of Protanum. I'm going to do it, you know, here you go. And she's like, no, 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 I'll buy it. I'll buy it. You don't have to do that. And I'm like, no, I'm literally going to sign her up. I'm going to pay for the first month. She'll have the website to keep ordering it. But I'm going to totally do that because I just feel like that sometimes people just need to, it's like for whatever reason, they just don't take the leap on their own. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they have it and they get the email. I go out and buy like a gift card and I sign them up as a preferred customer and I use my gift card because if you try to do it under your credit card, it's going to go by your name and it's not going to work. And so I'll go out and get a gift card for however much money. I'm like, what's your address, phone number, your email? I'm going to buy you this. It's going to go to your house. And then it's up to you if you want to keep ordering it. But here you go. This is my gift to you. And they'll get it and they'll keep ordering it, or they'll look on the website and be like, you know, because then the company starts sending them emails about things. And it's not something I do with a lot of people, but if there are some people where I'm like, I know they need this so bad and they're open to it, it's just like they won't take the leap to, it's not they're opposed. It's just like you can't get them you can't get them focused long enough to actually go and do it. And so sometimes I'm like, I'm going to send it to you, you know, especially if I feel like they're in really dire straits and like they're overwhelmed. I'm like, here, this is just start this. Promise me you're going to do it. Like, and I'll buy it for you for this month. And then I recommend you keep doing it, you know? But anyway, that's just kind of something that I have found that actually will work and people will keep ordering and they'll want to know about more, some of the other products. I'll give them, you know, Axio and things like that. But yeah, with her though, I would say it would be good to have that third party with me so we could talk about her dog, figure out what's going on, actually what the actual diagnosis is, because lupus isn't something that's not really, I feel like there's something else, like, you know, that's more of a human thing. So maybe it's some other autoimmune thing that may be similar to lupus. I don't know. So maybe it'd be good to talk.
Okay, well, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So just no, I'm going to send a text out. So
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging with me this long. I'm sorry it took so long to get through you know, I just wanted to get through these objections. But anyway, I appreciate all being on here and love y'all. Get some rest. Good night.
Good night.